This is lecture number 59 in the FOA series on fiber optics. In this lecture, we're going to cover fiber optic cable midspan access. It's quite common for high fiber count fiber optic backbones to need splits and drops, where a few fibers need to be split off for a local switch or fiber to the home pond splitters, cables to buildings passed, or cell sites. But the common thing is that most of the fibers need to pass through the point without being disturbed. Can you do that? Suppose you have a 144 fiber backbone cable and you need a 4 fiber cable dropped to a particular location. Can you do that? This is a question we've been asked at FOA quite a few times. The question is usually asked in terms of, do I need to splice all the fibers? Is there a way that I can only splice the fibers that I need to drop at this point? And the answer is, yes, there is. It's called midspan access or midspan entry of the backbone cable. The network architecture will determine exactly how those drop fibers are connected. If you're running a centralized network, all 4 fibers may need to connect up to 4 fibers coming from the central office or the head end. If you're running a ring network, it may only be 2 fibers that need to be connected to the CO or head end, and the other 2 fibers continue along the cable for the ring architecture. Using midspan access, only the drop fibers need to be split out and spliced. The other fibers can be handled carefully and pass through the drop point without being spliced, saving in this case over 140 splices at one location, which is quite a savings in time and money. In this FOA lecture, we're going to give you general directions on how this midspan access process is done. But when it comes to actually doing it with your own cable in your own locations, we're going to make suggestions. First, get directions for midspan entry from the manufacturer of the cable you're using. Likewise, get directions for the midspan splice from the splice closer manufacturer. Make sure you have the proper tools, like this Miller MSAT toolkit, and take some samples of your own cable and practice before you do it on the real thing. That's very important. Practice first. Here's the basic process. You first remove a section of the cable jacket near where you're going to be making the splices. You find where the tubes in the cable reverse their twist. They're contrahelically wound, so every now and then the twist changes direction. You need to find that point because that is where you want the center of the tubes to be when you make the midspan entry, so that the tubes can easily be coiled up and stored in the splice closure. You're going to remove a specified length of the cable jacket with the rip cords and remove all the extraneous material in the cable, like binder tapes and water blocking tape. You'll cut the central strength member, leaving enough just for clamping to the closure. Next, you'll separate the buffer tube that will be open for the drop fibers from the other tubes, which you will coil up and secure in the splice closure. Then you'll open the tube for the drop fibers, remove all the fibers, place them in a splice tray, separate the fibers for the drop, and splice them to the drop cable. Sounds simple, doesn't it? First, we remove a short length of the cable jacket to expose the inside of the cable. We look for the point at which the helical winding of the buffer tubes reverses, and that should be the center of the opening of the cable so the tubes fold up properly in the splice closure. On some cables, you can actually see the indentations around the buffer tubes through the jacket. If you can see that, it's very easy to find the reversal point for the helical winding. If not, you'll have to look for it when you open the cable jacket. After you find the reversal point, which will be the center of our opening, you strip the cable jacket using the ripcords for a length that's required for the drop. This will usually be 2 or 3 lengths of twists in the cable. Remove everything but the buffer tubes in the cable and a short length of the center strength member on each end to secure the cable's ends in the splice closure. Using color codes, identify the buffer tube that has the fibers you want to separate out and splice to the drop cable. Gather the other tubes up and we'll secure those in the splice closure. Secure the cable ends to the splice closure by clamping the strength member. Separate out the tubes that will be passing through, coil them up, and secure them in the closure like this. For the tube that has the fibers we want to drop, we will open that tube and remove all the fibers in the tube. For this, we use a special tool, usually called a Midspan Access tool, that shaves a section off the top of the buffer tube and allows us to remove the fibers in the tube. After we remove all the fibers, and it's good to count them to make sure you have them all, then we'll cut off the ends of the tube, leaving a length of fiber long enough to coil up in a splice tray and splice the fibers we need to splice to the drop fibers. Our open buffer tube is secured to the splice tray the way we would normally secure a buffer tube to the tray, except remember we have 2 ends. So we secure the buffer tube to the tray and we carefully coil the fibers up in the tray, leaving separate the fibers we want to splice. We've got our other pass-through fibers properly secured and protected in the splice tray, and the 2 fibers we want to splice separated out. So now we're ready to actually attach the drop cable to the splice closure and splice it to the fibers we need to drop at this location. Here's our splice tray ready to splice the drop cable in. The unopened tubes are coiled below the splice tray. The open tube is secured to the tray. The pass-through fibers are coiled on the tray and out of the way, and our fibers to be spliced to the drop cable are separated. Now we attach the drop cable to the splice closure, separate out the fibers we want to splice, and make our splices. When we're through, we've done 4 splices instead of 144 or 146, depending on our network architecture. And you can see how basically straightforward it is and how much cost savings there is when you do a midspan access. If you're designing a network using midspan access for your drops, we advise you talk to the manufacturers of the cables and the splice closures you'll be using and get their advice on how to design the network efficiently. If you're an installer who'll be building a network with Midspan Access and you're not familiar with it, we suggest you contact manufacturers of cable splice closures, many of whom have excellent videos showing you exactly how the process is done. You may even want to talk to tool manufacturers and get their advice on the proper tools for the cables and closures you're using. And before you try it in the field, be sure to practice somewhere back in the office on a cable section that is extra, similar to the cable you're using, so you understand how to do the midspan access on the cable without harming it. This, of course, is very important. Never try something in the field for the first time. The FOA website has almost 1,000 pages of technical information on topics like midspan access that can help you understand these particular technical issues before you attempt them in your shop or in the field. We're the Fiber Optic Association, the International Professional Association of Fiber Optics, chartered to promote professionalism in fiber optics through education, certification, and standards.